I only see positives. I mean, I just have to think that if we have Ed Reed on this staff, some of these recruiting battles that we were in, maybe that could have been the tipping point, you know?
I'm going to elaborate a little bit, because I think what it is that people are looking at it as a disappointment, like we didn't land Highsmith, someone with a big position of power. But to be honest with you, you know, Highsmith was never going to come in at just a chief of staff role. Do you feel me? Because the chief of staff role isn't really a big position of power to hire or fire a coach.
Right.
So I think that's where people are like a little bit upset, because they wanted Highsmith, a guy that had actual general manager experience and stuff like that. I think that's where, you know, I wouldn't say misconception, but mainly the disappointment on some fans. But yeah, I don't see that.
I think it's like when let's say you're 16 years old and you don't have a car, and then you think your parents are going to get you a Lamborghini. Oh, I'm getting a Lamborghini, and then they get you another model that's kind of like a Lamborghini. Our minds were set on Alonzo Highsmith. Our minds was set. So I think that's where you make a good point. That's where a lot of people aren't as excited, because their mind was set on Alonzo Highsmith, and we get Ed Reed instead. And they thought that, you know, we're going to get a chief of staff like Alonzo Highsmith. And this is what people were thinking. We're going to get Alonzo Highsmith. Man, he's going to have a bad season. Then Alonzo Highsmith is going to fire everybody, and he's going to be the athletic director, and he's going to bring in coaches. That's what a lot of people thought was going to happen. And that's not how it's going to play out.
Oh, but I wouldn't rule out Alonzo Highsmith being an athletic director maybe in a couple of years if
I can see that
doesn't work out. I wouldn't rule that out.
Well, yeah, especially with the news that he's no longer with the Browns officially now, so I could definitely see that.
Exactly, and I just wanted to piggyback off of a caller that said something about, you know, how is Ed Reed really gonna, you know, impact you know, some players to come to Miami, and the player responded as they have to fall in love with the school. Well, sometimes some of these kids, you know, may not have that big of an impact if Ed Reed walks in their door, but to the parents, it does, because it's a big deal, because they grew up watching Ed Reed. Maybe not the son, but the parents did. So it's like the Hall of Fame guy going in a visit. You know, it's very impactful to maybe not the kid, but to the family, it's very impactful. Because if they were, you know, if they were alive or they were around to see Ed Reed play, you know, in a University of Miami uniform, they know what it is. They know who's on, you know, sitting in their couch in that living room. You know who's talking to their kids.
Facts.
So it's an impact. It's an impact. That's the way I see it. You know, he's not a negative at all. And if anything, you know Ed Reed's going to talk good about Miami. He rocks Miami gear everywhere he goes. He bleeds orange and green.
I agree, man. I'm excited about this move. It seems like you're excited, man. Who I got on the line here right now?
247 Canes.
Oh, my God, 247 Canes, yeah. Yeah, man, I'm pumped about this move. Let me ask you this. If you had to choose, who would you rather, Ed Reed or Alonzo Highsmith? Honestly, be honest with me.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. For what, chief of staff? Ed Reed, because I know he fits that role better than Alonzo Highsmith. Okay. Now, if we were talking about a position over the head coach, then I would have to pick Highsmith. I have to throw that in there.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair enough. Okay. All right, brother. I appreciate it. I'm going to try to take a couple more calls, talk to the people a little bit.
You got it. You know how to say. Give it 100.
Yes, sir.
Have a good night.
Hey, you too, brother. Okay, that was 247 Canes, and he makes a good point. And it's crazy because I was watching an interview today with Tua, okay? I'm watching Tua Tagovailoa. He's on the Dan Patrick show. And Dan Patrick goes, how did you end up at Alabama if you grew up loving USC and Matt Leinart was your favorite player. And he goes, I don't know, you'd have to ask my dad. And then Patrick goes, well, you were the fan of Matt Leinart. Why did you end up at Alabama? And Tua goes, well, my dad just thought it was best for me. You'd have to ask my dad. So think about that. Think about that. Tua Tagovailoa couldn't even tell. I'm sorry, I butchered his name. But Tua couldn't even explain why he went to the Alabama Crimson Tide, because it was basically his father's decision mostly. So when you talk about people saying, well, these kids don't even know Ed Reed or it doesn't make sense, 247 Canes makes a good point when he says it may not be an impact to the player, but to his parents who they're putting their lives. A lot of people feel as, hey, you're taking my son, we're handing him off to you for 4 years. Get him to the league. Then it may mean something to that parent that they're talking to an Ed Reed, a leader on and off the field. I mean, just listen to him. The Bleacher Report, Untold Stories, this man was talking about how he was getting on the Baltimore Ravens because they weren't disciplined enough to pick up trash. This man is a leader. And people will want their kids to go and be with a leader, especially one that's well known and that has done the things that Ed Reed has done. So I think that makes a great point. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people should go look at that interview by Tua. Tua couldn't even explain why he went to Alabama because it was mostly his parents' decision. That was crazy to me. That was wild, guys. Let's throw up the number here.